Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Taco Toppers class. Good to see some of you who are returning with us, and good to see some new faces as well. I am Stephanie Jordan. I'm the local food program manager at Sustainable Solano, and this is one of many cooking classes that we're doing over the next approximately year and a half to 2 years, and it's part of a specialty crop block program grant that we have. And the purpose is to raise awareness of all the specialty crops that are grown in Solano County by our local farmers. And specialty crops are basically things that we eat. It is a lot of vegetables, a lot of fruit. It includes tree nuts, and it also includes culinary herbs, a lot of which we were working with today for our taco toppers. There are also some flowers in that batch of goods, the specialty crops, and nursery products. But we are focusing on all of the edible things for this series, and are happy to have you join us again. So there's a lot more information about this project and other local food initiatives on our website, which can be found at sustainablesolano.org. So we're doing 3 things today. We are doing a really simple pico de gallo, and we're going to do a tomatillo and avocado salsa, and then finally we will do a chimichurri. The chimichurri recipe is from my husband's family. He is from Guatemala and spent pretty much almost his whole life there, but definitely his childhood. And in fact, he asked me to make extra today so that he could put it on some stuff over the next few days. So the recipe, the chimichurri recipe that we're doing, is kind of typical of Guatemala. He is from the eastern region of that country. And, you know, I found that when we were traveling around, it definitely varies from place to place, from country to country, and from region to region. Some people and families put mayonnaise into their chimichurri. Others, you know, add different kinds of peppers, more herbs. There's some wiggle room. So I'll just kind of walk you through, you know, our basic family recipe that we use, and we'll talk later about, you know, how you can tweak it to fit your taste. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of bop around a little bit between these recipes. I'm going to start with the pico de gallo, and because we have an initial step that I want to do for that. And you will, of course, notice that a lot of the ingredients repeat themselves in these recipes. So, you know, these are all different kinds of kind of salsas or sauces that we would use on tacos, or really anything. Some of these recipes go great on things other than tacos. So first, the pico de gallo. What we're going to do is we're going to try to release some of the juices from the tomatoes so that the pico de gallo is not watery. So I've got 3 nice looking tomatoes here. These are from my Terra Firma CSA box. I think this is like a brandy wine tomato. It's kind of getting a dark purplish on top, and then I have a yellow one, and then another big red heirloom. So I'm just going to chop these up, and then I'm going to toss them with a little bit of salt, and then we're going to move them into this colander and let them drain. So let me grab my knife here and my handy scraper. I'm also going to get a serrated knife. Let's see, where did I put it? There it is. These are pretty handy for tomato products. They have little ridges down here, and it'll help grab that skin, which sometimes can be a little bit tough. So I'm just going to take the core out of the tomatoes. We'll do one at a time here. I'm just going to cut them across, and this will be kind of a chunky pico de gallo. So I'm not going to worry too much about the size. You know, I do want to have it somewhat equally cut so that I have similar sized pieces. Because if we're scooping it up, you know, we want to be able to get all of the items on our chip or our taco or whatever it is we're doing. Okay, so there's the first one. So we're going to go into this bowl first, and by the way, here's a little trick I do just to get the core out. So I just cut a couple of angles, and so the core of the tomato is still here. What I'm doing is I'm kind of cutting around the core, and then once I have a tiny little wedge like this, then I just kind of go in from the center down and just cut my top out. So it just kind of makes the whole process go a little bit faster. Okay, these are super juicy. We are in tomato season right now. They are coming, especially if you are in the northern end of the county where it's warmer. these larger tomatoes, like the beefsteaks and the heirlooms, are growing right now. This little scraper that I'm using, if you're new to this class today, this is called a bench scraper. I use it in nearly every class I do. It's one of my favorite kitchen tools. Sometimes it's also called a pastry scraper. You know, if I was a pastry chef, which I'm not, you use it for scraping up dough or mixing dough. It's also handy for cutting soft things like butter. I do use it to cut scone dough as well. But most of the time in my daily cooking life, I use it for scooping up stuff off of my cutting board. All right, so there I've got my top on that one, and I'm just going to cut down and get that core out. All right, last one. This yellow tomato is going to make this look really colorful. So while I'm doing this, I thought I would talk to you also about where you can source some of these things right now. I did get some ingredients, as I mentioned, from my CSA box from Terra Firma, Terra. And there's another CSA. I believe they are now finally starting to release people off of their waiting list. Eat Well Farm in Dixon is one of the only truly Solano County CSA farms. So I encourage you to look them up. It's just Eat Well. I think it's just eatwell.com actually. Okay, there's my tomatoes. So, all right, so we're going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and I'm just going to eyeball that, into my tomatoes here. I'm going to give them a little stir. And then we'll plop them into this colander and let them drain. And so again, this is just to kind of keep our salsa from getting overly watery. We're going to drain some of the juices from the tomatoes out. Okay, there it is. It's already starting to drain all over the place. All right, grab another towel. Okay, we're just going to let this sit aside for a little while, and then we will finish assembling that in a bit. Okay, so I'm going to put this over here in the name of, just so we have a little room. Okay, now we will turn to our avocado and roasted tomatillo salsa. The tomatillos look like this. They look like little tomatoes with a little shell on them. They're like a little papery skin that goes over top, and the little papery part pulls off really easily. I got these from Robledo's produce stand. The great farmer named Javier Robledo. His stand is on Rockville Road, just west of, I think it's Abernathy. So there they are. I just pulled off my little papery skin. Sometimes there's a little bit of dirt that gets underneath that, so you want to give them a little rinse. They do feel a little bit sticky sometimes, which is normal. That's kind of just the way they are. The tomatillos are typically picked when they're green, but they can ripen to yellow, red, or even purplish. And so I did find a couple of purplish ones in my batch here, and I just wanted to show those to you. So those have a little bit of a purple area on them. So for this salsa recipe, it originally says to preheat your oven to 425 and put the tomatillos along with some other aromatics on a sheet pan and roast it. Well, my oven is a little cranky this week. I'm not sure what's going on. It wasn't lighting properly. So I'm going to do an alternative to the roasting, which is I'm going to use a grill pan. And I'm kind of glad my oven is a little cranky because I wanted to show this in a grill class that I had a couple weeks ago. This is just a cast iron. There you can see the grates. So it's a cast iron pan with like some little raised, grill grates on it, and it will work on this induction burner. I also have a larger one, which I can show you, which looks like this. So this has two sides. This is the side with the grill grates, and then it also just has a flat side. And again, this is just a cast iron kind of flat big pan. This will go over 2 burners on my range top, which is working. And so I'm gonna go ahead and prep the ingredients that would normally get roasted, and then I'm gonna kind of split them up across this pan and this grill pan on my range over here. So just, I wanted to kind of show you some options in case you didn't want to turn on your oven. I'm gonna go ahead and turn my burner on over here and start heating this up. All right. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and turn on the induction burner. Let's see here, temperature. So the induction burner, it kind of gives me heat in watts, which I don't follow, and temperature. So the high is at 500 degrees. So I'm just gonna turn it up to high and let it start heating up, and then we will start putting some ingredients together. So what we're gonna do with the tomatillos, some garlic, a jalapeno, and some leeks is I'm gonna toss them with some oil, and then we're gonna distribute those on the pan. So here's the bowl I'm gonna put everything in, and then we'll add our oil. So first, the tomatillos. For the tomatillos, these are pretty small. I'm just gonna halve them. Usually they're a little bit larger than this. So for today, I'm just gonna cut them in half. You can definitely do a tomatillo salsa with raw tomatillos. If you do have the extra time, I recommend, doing what we're doing today, which is kind of like charring them. You could also, of course, put these on your standard grill. I have another pan that I can show you actually for grilling small items like this to keep them from going through the grate. Okay, I'm just gonna, some of these are a little larger, so I'm quartering the big ones and just having the small ones. And this is about half a pound of tomatillos. I think I had just slightly over a half of a pound, but that's what we're looking at here. Okay, we've got a few more, and then we'll move on to the garlic and the jalapeno. These are a little roly-poly. I think it works best to turn them upside down so that they're a little bit flat so they don't roll out of your hands. Okay, next we have some garlic cloves that we're just gonna peel and smash. So I'm gonna have 3 garlic cloves. This is some really super fresh garlic, also from terra firma. Okay. So for smashing our garlic, scoot this over here so you guys can see what I'm doing. I want to take the side of my knife, and I'm going to put it on top of the clove, and I'm going to give it a whack with my palm, and then I cut the end off that's by like where it would connect to the rest of the head. So it's kind of like the root end. So there's 1, 2, and it just kind of pops right out of there. And then here's number 3. All right. So these are already slightly smashed. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of give it another little tap just to help break it down a little bit. Okay. All right, we'll put that in our bowl with the tomatillos. Next, we have a jalapeno. So here it is. You could also use a Serrano chili pepper if you didn't have a jalapeno. Serranos sometimes are a little bit spicier. It's just kind of like a gamble. You don't really know how spicy it's going to be until you taste it. So, and also just related to that, the heat is in the seeds and the membranes. So yeah, I'm going to cut this in half. So if I want less heat, then I want to take all those white parts out as well as the seeds. So I'm going to maybe just kind of cut out a little part of this. I'm going to quarter it and just scoop out a little chunk there. And then the rest of it, I think I'll just leave in. So because this is a pretty big jalapeno, I'm going to just quarter it. We'll put it in there. Scoop away my seeds and other goodies here. Okay, last thing going into our bowl is a leek. So this called for 1 leek. These are pretty tiny leeks, so I'll probably do 2. And we just want to use the white and light green parts. We'll grab these 2. So I'm going to cut off the root, and then I'm going to cut this part off. Leeks have typically a lot of dirt in them. So I'm going to cut it lengthwise. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of shuffle, like I'm kind of shuffling or fanning like a deck of cards. I'm going to fan these little layers out while I run it under some water. And so the water will help kind of push that sand and dirt out. And I'll just give it a little check here. All right, that one looks good. Oh, actually, I want to chop that up just a little bit. And then we'll do the other one. So I'm just going to cut this into roughly like 1/2 inch to 1 inch size. Okay, do the other one. All right. I think I got all that rinsed out. That one looks good. That one looks good. Okay, we'll do our chunks. Okay, into the bowl. All right, so now I'm going to toss this with some oil, and I'm going to use avocado oil today. You could also use a vegetable oil. I tend to like avocado oil better than like canola. I think it's a little healthier. Give this a little mix, and then I'll just split it up. You know, I might be able to fit it in this pan right here. I thought it would be more. Let's see if we're hot. Yes, we are. Now I'm going to divide it up because I want this to be spread out. I don't want it to be too crowded because what will happen is it'll start to steam instead of char. So I want to kind of replicate the idea of a grill here. Okay, so then once in a while, I'm just going to give it a little stir. I'll kind of take a peek and see, you know, is it browning? What is it doing? And once I see some browning, we'll kind of mix it around and let it, you know, move it to, you know, turn it around so that the other sides of the tomatillos can brown. It's, you know, that sort of thing. Okay. All right. So while this is happening, sorry, it's going to be a little loud with all the sizzling. We'll go through our other ingredients for this particular recipe. There is some sugar in here, which is optional, and there's also some spices, and then we have avocado. So we need 2 avocados, and I usually like to cut around it, and then twist it open, and then we have our inside part. And then to get the pit out, I give it a little tap with my knife and pull this out. Get that off. I was teaching a class in Chicago where I lived for 20 years. And I was doing something with avocados in this class, and this woman says, oh, when she saw me do this, she said she worked for a hand surgeon, and people come in saying they got hurt doing something with avocados. And she was like, oh, I never knew what on earth they were talking about. So be careful doing that little trick. Okay, let's see how this is going. All right, this is working and looking good. I see some charring. I'll show you guys in a minute. I'm going to turn my heat down just a tad because my pan is now hot. Cast iron tends to retain heat really well. So we can just kind of do a little mix here. And check the other one while I'm checking. Okay, I just turned my hood on. Is that now way too much noise? Are we still good? Thumbs up. Are we good?
Still good.
Not too noisy? Okay, all right. Okay, so back to our avocados. I'm just gonna load up these ingredients into this little bowl here, and then we will eventually put it into a blender. So we just need to scoop these out. And luckily, these both look really good. Avocados should be just a little bit soft when you give them a slight, you know, soft to the touch. You want there to be a little bit of a give when you squeeze them, but not too much. These look pretty perfect, which is exciting. All right, There's our avocados. All right, next we have some cilantro. I have some already washed in this container. So we just need about 1/4 cup. And I'm not gonna bother to take off leaves. The stems have a lot of flavor, and since we're just blending all this up anyway, same with when we do the chimichurri, we're just gonna stick it all together. So to chop, I just kind of bunched it up a little bit into a pile and then kind of started chopping. Got a avocado stem there. Okay, that looks about right. Just for fun, we can throw it in a measuring cup. Okay, I'm gonna stick that over here. Actually, let me do this. I'm gonna put the cilantro with the avocado, then we'll return our tomatillo mixture back to this bowl, and then I'll try to show it to you guys so you can see what we're looking at here. Okay, this is coming along. Let's see how the other pan's doing. Okay, we're getting there. I would say maybe another 3 or 4 minutes, and we'll pull the tomatillos off of their little grills. We'll try to flip them over. Come on, we can do it. There we go. Okay. All right, what else do we have here? We have cumin, we have water, and we also have some regular onion that we're putting in here as well. Okay, so avocado, cilantro, oh, and then there's that sugar. So I'm gonna leave the sugar out for right now. I'm gonna see how this tastes without it. You know, if you wanna add a little sweetener to kind of counterbalance the spice, you know, you're more than welcome. So we're gonna need, let's see here, 1/2 teaspoon of cumin and 1/2 teaspoon of the dried oregano. So there's my 1/2 of the oregano. Half a teaspoon, sorry, I'm not measuring. I'm measuring the way I am measuring. Okay, and then we also need some lime juice. So, tablespoon of lime juice. We'll get that ready to go in this little measuring cup. Okay, there it is. I'm gonna hang on to the rest of that for my next recipe. Okay, I think we're about ready to go. I'm gonna turn this off. And I'm gonna round up our tomatillo mixture. Okay. See, sometimes this handle gets, well, it's a little warm. I don't know if you guys can see some of the charred vegetables here. I'll try to bring it around. Okay. Okay, so the lighting is not great, but if you can see, here's a good specimen on our tomatillo. Let's see if I can pick it up. Oh, it may not let me with the tongs. No, we can't really see much of anything. All right, we want to have kind of some blackened areas. You might see some little stripes happening on your, this was one of the leeks. Maybe if I put it in front of me and put it on my white coat background here. There we go. Do you see there's a little bit of a char on there? So almost all of this has some degree of char to it. The leeks that were thinner and kind of fell apart are a little bit more. Oh, maybe you can see it better if I hold it here. And then the tomatillos are kind of halfway there. They're starting to get a little bit soft. And the jalapenos are kind of getting a little bit flimsy too. So everything was starting to break down. And then this kind of helps to build some flavor with the charred pieces there. Okay, so I'm gonna set that there, and let's just make sure we got everything ready to go here. So I have the avocados, the cilantro, the spices. I'm gonna get my half of a cup of water because we're gonna put everything into a blender to kind of mix it up. So this is a little bit of a cross between a guacamole and a salsa. We're kind of putting those two things together. All right, I think we're good to go. So let me bring my blender over here. I am done with this thing, so I can, done with the induction burner. I'm using just about every appliance I have in today's class. It's always kind of fun. Okay, so in goes our pepper tomatillo leek mixture. You know, there is one other ingredient I just realized we need to do, which is the onion. We also will put in some fresh onion into this salsa as well. So we'll show you guys how to cut up an onion. Let's see, we only need about 1/4 cup, but I'll go ahead and kind of walk through the steps of the onion. So we have a top and a root. I'm going to cut off the top. Get rid of that. And then I'm going to cut it from top to root. So I have 2 halves. Once you're at this point, you have a corner now that you can peel. So I probably only need to cut up 1/2 to get to my amount. So I tear off the outer peel. And then I'm going to put it on my board so that the root is on my left, and I'm right-handed. Hold on, there's a little bit of something from the root there. Okay, so the root is on my left, and the cut top is on my right. And I'm going to make cuts. My palm is going to go down on top of the onion like this, and I'm going to make about 1/4 inch cuts horizontally going up the onion. I've got room for about 3 cuts, because it's not a very fat onion. My next cut is I position the onion so that the root is at the top of my cutting board and the cut side is now toward me. And I'm going to go straight down. And I'm going to swipe my knife out right before I get to the root end, because the root is still going to help hold all of these layers together. Okay. Next cut is I turn it back to the original position. So the root is on my left and the cut side's on my right. And I'm going to go straight down. And the goal is to make the same size cut in every direction. And if you do that, then you'll have kind of nice, evenly diced onion. A little spot that didn't quite make it. Okay, so there it is. And this is probably what I need for a cup. Yeah, it looks like a little extra actually, but let's just see. Oh, yeah, close enough. We'll throw it all in. So I'm just going to set this over here for right now. Okay, so we've got the tomatillo mixture in the blender, and then we're going to add the avocados, the cilantro, the cumin. We're going to, and I guess my oregano is in here too. And we also need the 1/2 cup of water here to make everything blend. Okay. On. it looks basically like a guacamole. I'm going to just kind of shove this down. So then the last step is to add our onion, which I just chopped up, and our lime juice. And I'm just going to give that a couple of pulses. So I'm going to let the onion, the chopped up onion, stay, you know, some pieces will be whole, but I chopped it kind of small. So again, that kind of gives it that guacamole slash salsa feel to have a few chunks in there. And then we'll put in some lime juice and some salt, and then we will be good. Okay. Give it a couple of those, add my lime juice. Okay. Last but not least, we need some salt. And this one is done. All right, that looks yummy. Let's put it back here in the bowl. I guess I could have added the salt while it was in the blender, but that's okay. We'll mix it in here. Okay. Just gonna give it a good hearty couple of pinches. We'll mix that around. So it looks very much like a creamy guacamole, but it's gonna have a little more kick like a salsa. I'll give it a taste. The tomatillos are definitely more acidic and kind of tangy than a regular tomato. Ooh, it's spicy too. My jalapeno had a little heat to it, so that's good. I think it needs a little more salt. The job of salt is to bring out the flavors that are all here. So if you taste it and it just tastes kind of plain or cardboard-ish, then you need more salt. Okay, and then from here you can play around. If you want more acid, add more lime juice. If you want more avocado, add more avocado. Up to you. So there is our avocado tomatillo salsa. I'm gonna set that over there. All right, let's return quickly to our pico de gallo, and then I will put together the chimichurri, which is very fast. Okay, our tomatoes have drained. I'd say I probably have about 1/3 of a cup of liquid here that came out. I'm gonna put this in a glass bowl so that you can see. Okay, that. Actually, I'll stick this over here. All right, so on our pico de gallo, again, we have some red onion, about 1/4 cup of that, a little more cilantro, which I will use my other washed version here, a little garlic, and a little jalapeno. Okay, so here's the cilantro. I'm just gonna bunch it up in a little ball like I did before. And you can see I'm kind of keeping my left hand, my fingertips are curled under. This kind of helps me keep from chopping off my fingertips. Stem. All right. Cilantro. Let's see a little bit of the onion demo again. Top comes off, although we won't need too much of this onion. Down the middle, I'm going to wipe off the board. There's always a little bit of dirt that comes off from the root. I might even shave that root off. Okay, and again, I probably just need a half. So I'm gonna peel. And then we'll do our cuts like we did before. Okay, clean off my knife. This is a tiny little onion, so you want to be kind of careful when they're small. You can do this same procedure with shallots. You just have to kind of think about it in terms of like mini. Once you get to this spot, you kind of have this awkward, you know, straight up and down flat part of your onion. So I would flip that over so that you have a wider area on your cutting board. It's much safer to chop, so you're not flipping and cutting yourself. A few little pieces that didn't quite make it there on my cuts. Give them an extra chop. Okay, onion is in. I have half of a jalapeno from something the other day. I don't even remember what I was doing, that I have left over. So I'm just going to go ahead and use this up on my pico de gallo. And it's got a little bit of seeds and membranes in. The other half, I took the seeds and membranes out. So I'm just cutting this into like some long sticks like this first. And then I'll just line them up and cut them crosswise. So that's how I'm going to do the jalapeno. All right, so I'll line up all my stick parts here, go across. Ooh, that onion is making me cry. This little guy needs to go over there. Okay, jalapeno done. Into the bowl. Let's see, what else? Tomatoes, onions, cilantro, chili, oh, lime juice and garlic. Okay, same story. Let's see, I still had some from that other lime here, so I'm gonna squeeze that in here. So with this pico de gallo, you know, again, you do have some options. You can keep it all very fresh, which is kind of traditionally, I think, how the pico de gallo is. If you want to roast your jalapeno or grill it and then throw it in, you can definitely do that as well. Okay, there's my lime juice. And about a clove of garlic. This I will need to mince up, but I will start the same way I did before by whacking it and then cutting the ends off. These are 3 teeny tiny cloves, so there's one. I'll probably just need 2, not that much. That just broke apart on me there. Okay, that's good. I like garlic, let's put them all in. All right, so for these garlic cloves, I'm just gonna put them, they kind of broke apart, so I'm just gonna bunch them up and then go through here. Give them a little chop. And then once we're done with the garlic, of course, we don't want to forget about the salt. All right, that's the pico de gallo. This should hold in your fridge for at least 3 or 4 days. You know, the tomatoes will release a little more liquid, which is kind of just what they do. Actually, I'm going to grab a different spoon here. Mix this up. And we did have some salt already on the tomatoes, so you'll need to kind of taste this once you start mixing. Okay. And once you start making this at home, you may never go back to jarred salsa. Sorry, Safeway and Rayleigh's and whoever out there. So, okay, so there's that. Nice and colorful and very fresh and tasty. Okay. Last but not least, the chimichurri. For this one, I'm using my food processor. And, all right, I need to clear some space here. Let's see, what else do I have here? I need a jalapeno. I need the garlic. Put that back out here. And I need limes. Okay, we have those. Okay. For whatever reason, the recipe on this one, which is from my husband's Aunt Anna, she puts in white wine vinegar as well as lime juice. I'm not sure why. I just follow along to go with it too. And so this is essentially like a pesto. And we're going to put everything into this food processor. And we'll have to probably do it in batches. It's a lot of herbs. Here is one large bunch of cilantro that I already washed. I'm just going to throw in what's left of this other one from my container. Sorry, I'm sniffling. Those onions were doing a job on me. Okay, and then there's parsley. So it doesn't really, you know, matter what your ratios are, but it's roughly, you know, 1 to 1. So, you know, I have like, this is one super large bunch of cilantro. I then have another big bunch of parsley over here, which I'm gonna wash up. So my favorite way to wash herbs is to slosh it around. Here it is in a big giant bowl filled with water. So this is Italian parsley or flat leaf parsley. And it's been sitting here since we started the class. And so what happened is any dirt will sink to the bottom and the leaves will float. And then I'm scooping it off and putting it into my salad spinner. And then we're going to spin it dry. We want to try to have all of this as dry as possible. Okay, so while that's spinning, I'm going to round up a couple other things. So we've got our jalapeno. Again, one whole one. We like things spicy, so I'm just going to cut this into, you know, some rough chunks. And then it'll go into the food processor. I'm going to put all this extra stuff into a bowl. I usually have to do the herbs first. Although before the herbs is the garlic, because if you drop the garlic cloves in while this is running, it chops it up really well. So I think I need, yeah, about 4 cloves of garlic or so. Let's break this apart. There we are. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we'll just put it all in. Why not? Move that aside. Okay, here's the routine again with the garlic. So for this, I'm just going to leave them whole. And I'm going to let the food processor do the work on the garlic, and then we'll put everything else in. If you have large quantities of garlic to chop up, I highly recommend just putting it all into the processor this way. You know, if it's just a few cloves, I just do it by hand. But if you're doing something where you need loads of garlic, this is what I would do. All right, so I'm going to turn this on, and then I'm going to drop the garlic cloves in while it's running, and it'll just spin it around, and it'll be chopped like instantly. Okay, so that part is done. Now I can start loading in all the other pieces and parts. Okay, so here's the jalapenos and the herbs, and I'm going to have to do this like little chunks at a time because my processor, even though it's about an 11-cup processor, we'll have to do this in some batches. Okay, so this is the cilantro part. Helps to pulse it a little bit while you're doing this so that it'll start breaking it down and chopping it up, and then you can just add more in. And it just kind of chops down to nothing. You think you've got like too much of the herbs, but it never fails. You know, it's kind of like cooking spinach. It all just disappears after a while. Okay, so here's my parsley that's spun and ready to go. So let me do the next round of cilantro. Let me spread it out here. Sometimes it gets a little stuck. There we go. Okay, next round, we'll do some parsley. And again, you can see I'm not bothering to, I twisted off the really rough, maybe like 2 inches worth of the stems at the bottom, but the rest of it is going in because the stems have a lot of flavor and it all gets mixed up in this particular kind of a recipe, so it does not matter. All right, I might need to take some out. Let's do this in sequences here. Okay, I'm going to pre-chop a little bit. This might make it go a little faster. All right, we're almost there. The last thing that goes in are the liquids. And again, you could use olive oil. I typically do use olive oil, I guess, for this, but you know, again, if you want to do something like, you know, an avocado oil, I think that would work fine too. A couple pieces there that don't look so happy. Okay, the rest of it looks good. Okay, so now that I have all of the herbs in, I will add my liquid. So I need about a tablespoon of white wine vinegar and then a tablespoon or two of lime juice. So there's the vinegar. And let's see, where's my, here it is, right in front of me, juicer. Once I add the liquids, it'll blend it up much more easily. I'm going to do at least 2 tablespoons of the lime juice. And then I kind of taste as I go and see how it is. Okay, so that's 2 tablespoons of lime juice and the 1 tablespoon of vinegar. Put that in. All right, and then we need approximately a 1/4 cup of olive oil. And again, we'll kind of look at the consistency and just kind of play around with the liquids and go from there. So I think that's all in there. Yep, salt and pepper. All right, so I'm going to throw in some salt, and this is just some black pepper. Okay, and I'm going to turn it on and then add the liquids, and it'll kind of start to look more like a pesto. Okay, scrape that down. And it looks like it needs more liquid. So I will put in more lime juice and a little more olive oil. It's a little thick right now. We want to be able to, you know, if I put it on a plate and I tilt the plate, it should be able to run a little bit. So we will put in a little more. Let's see here, where's my lime? Did I use up all my limes? Oh, this one has a little left in it. Okay. A little more lime juice. And a little more oil. Okay, still a little on the thick side, but I think we're okay. Yeah, taste it and see. Okay, so you should get very bright flavors in your chimichurri. You should be tasting, you know, initially you have like the herbs, and then you get the heat from the pepper, and then you kind of get the garlic at the end, and then the acids in there too. So I'm gonna scrape this into here. And it's a nice vibrant green right now. However, since we have acid in there from the lime juice and the vinegar, it will kind of start to turn that ugly pea green color. So if you're making this for a party or anything and want to have a nice presentation, you could have all your ingredients, you know, ready to go. Keep your vinegar and lime juice separate, and then just spin it all in your food processor. You know, I would even pre-chop some of the herbs so that it could come together quickly. But add your acid last, right before you serve. Okay, let me grab all of our stuff that we made here. I'll line it up. You can see it all. Okay, so there's, put it where you guys can see, there's the chimichurri. Turn that thing around. Whoops, something fell. This is, I don't have any more glass bowls, so we'll just go with it. There's the avocado. Oh wait, I do have I think I have another one. Nope, I do not. All right, so the avocado, the pico de gallo, and our chimichurri. There it is. Basically, Central America's answer to pesto.